Hi guys, welcome to this series on the national economy. Today we will start with a quick introduction to macroeconomics. Macroeconomics looks at the economy as a whole, whereas microeconomics is focused on decisions made by individuals and firms. We look at things like growth, which is measured by gross domestic product or GDP, inflation, which measures the increase in the price level of goods and services, unemployment, and trade with other countries in the form of exports and imports. There are four main macroeconomic objectives that a country has in order to ensure the optimal level of economic growth and standard of living. Firstly, we want sustainable economic growth. Growth needs to be consistent, and we do not want rapid increases which cause a boom and bust in the economic cycle. We want growth that can be maintained in the long run. And we know it's measured by GDP, so an increase in GDP would mean an increase in economic growth. The next objective is stable inflation. Inflation refers to the general increase in the price of goods and services. When there is inflation, this reduces the purchasing power of money as we need more of it to purchase a particular good. To keep inflation stable, the government has set a target of 2% plus or minus 1. If we look at the current situation, inflation is well below target, currently at 0.5%. It is the responsibility of the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee to ensure that we reach this target. Due to COVID-19 and the current lockdown, this has significantly reduced demand for goods and services and has contributed to the fall in prices. There are two ways to measure inflation, the main one being the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, and we also have the Retail Price Index. The next objective is to ensure high employment in the economy. Although it's not possible, but the government do aim to achieve full employment in the economy. If those who are willing and able to work cannot find work, they are considered to be unemployed. The pandemic has meant many companies have seen a huge fall in their revenues, and as a result, there have been lots of job losses in a range of industries. Unemployment is not good for the economy as it shows it's not operating at its full potential. It also means that people are less likely to purchase goods and services, which is not good for economic growth. The final objective is to have a satisfactory balance of payments position. The balance of payments records the transactions between the UK and the rest of the world, and this could be between consumers, governments, or even businesses. It's made up of three sections: the current account, the capital account, and the financial account. We look at the current account, which is the flow of goods and services in and out of the country. If imports exceed exports, this is a current account deficit, and if exports exceed imports, we have a current account surplus. The government can use three different types of policy instruments in order to reach its macroeconomic objectives. Firstly, we have monetary policy, which, as the name states, relates to money, so being able to influence the supply of money in the economy. It can do this by setting the base rate, which is the rate at which the Bank of England lends money to commercial banks. Currently, it's at one of its lowest rates in history at 0.1%. This is to try and stimulate economic growth, as lower interest rates make it cheaper to borrow money and hopefully would encourage more spending. Also, a change in the reserve requirement. This is the minimum amount of cash that banks need to hold in reserves. So if this was to increase, they would have to hold more cash in the banks and there would be less cash in circulation. Therefore, the money supply would reduce. And we also have open market operations in the form of government bonds. A bond is basically a loan to the government in return for a set rate of interest, which is called the coupon rate, and you'll receive this until the bond matures. And at maturity, you'll get back the principal plus any interest. If the government wanted to increase the supply of money in the economy, it can do this by buying back these bonds. Essentially, taking the bond back and giving money in the hands of the bondholders, which they can then use to spend and hopefully increase economic activity. Fiscal policy is all to do with taxes and government expenditure. An increase in tax can be used to reduce consumer spending, and a reduction in tax can be used to increase consumer spending. Finally, we have supply side policies. This is to increase productivity and efficiency in hopes to increase long-run economic growth. And this can be done in two ways, either through interventionist policies to try and correct or reduce market failures, or through a more free market approach in giving the private sector more freedom to compete. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please do like and subscribe. I'll be posting new videos every week. And make sure you check out my revision playlist on microeconomics.